Okay, so as I said, the portfolio meetings for the most part will be a good bit shorter than the regular class meetings because there is no lecture section necessarily. Um, the portfolio classes aren't introducing new content like you have in your regular courses. They are just opportunities to showcase what you're learning in the rest of the program. And actually, let me go ahead and get to the next slide. If you look at your program curriculum, you'll see that there are portfolio project courses interspersed throughout the program. Roughly about every 3 or 4 courses, you get one of the portfolio classes. Sometimes they're at the same time as your other courses, like this one is. I think for the most part, that's always going to be the case. And what we view these as is basically milestones in your progress through the curriculum, so that they have divided up the courses into groupings or chunks of content. As a portfolio, there's different ways you might look at a portfolio. It could be a professional portfolio or a personal, or in this case, it's an academic portfolio. So really what our focus is on is your academic progress. So you're demonstrating the skills that we have set forth for you to have gained at each step in the program. Ideally, when you finish at the end of the program, you'll have an impressive collection of projects that can also serve as a professional portfolio as you go to get into the job market. But for the time being, we're really focused on really making sure that you are gaining reaching the objectives we set for each stage in the program. The portfolio projects are going to be a series of projects, and these are going to be assigned projects. So it is very structured, and there are prescribed projects that you will be assigned rather than it being more open-ended. So if you look at the breakdown that I have on the screen, you'll see right now you're at Portfolio Project 1. And this is really going to be very much a foundation setting, because at this point you've only completed a small number of actual program courses. You've done some general education before this. So we can't really expect you to demonstrate too much in the way of the media communications skill sets at this point. So really we're just getting started now, doing some pre-work to prepare you for the projects that come later. So those are going to be including exploring your professional goals and composing a mission statement, as well as selecting a subject for your portfolio project and really defining what that subject is. And the subject is going to be the major component of this month's class, and I'm going to explain that a little bit more in more detail next week, but just to give an idea of what that's all about. The portfolio classes are all threaded. That means they're all interconnected. In Portfolio Project 1, where you're at now, you'll pick a subject, and the subject is going to be like a company or a performer or a public figure or some organization, a nonprofit works really well. That is going to be the subject matter that you work with. So, for example, I've had students pick their family business. I've had students pick a golden retriever rescue of Central Florida. Sometimes it's local musicians and so forth. And so all the portfolio projects then focus on that subject. So in Portfolio Project 2, you would be developing a brand style guide. So that would include things like identifying what the brand's personality is, defining their brand color scheme and logo and so forth for the subject that you've chosen. In Portfolio 3, you're developing a digital video asset related to that subject. And so it's flexible in the sense that the type of video you create is dependent upon the needs of the subject that you've selected. So if it's, say, if it was a nonprofit or a charity organization, then you might create a public service announcement or a promotional piece trying to drum up support for that charity. If it's a local musician, then it could be a music video. It could be a short promotional segment for their shows or something along those lines. So more flexibility in there to both match the nature of the subject you choose, but also to match your individual interests. So if you're more interested in journalism, you can take it in a more journalistic direction and do a investigative journalistic piece or something along those lines. The idea is that at the end, down here at Portfolio 5, you'll have this collection of projects that are all related to the same subject, so it gives the appearance of a coherent media campaign or a coherent portfolio. And you'll see that Portfolio 4 is not defined yet. That's going to be written because it launches next month, and it will probably include a selection of projects to choose from so that you can make it more in line with your own goals, because the MCBS program is probably one of the most diverse in terms of career goals. I see my students who are interested in journalism, in marketing, in graphic design, and in video, radio, and so forth. So we want to make this somewhat flexible in order to cater to those diverse interests. Is that making sense so far? Yes, just asked if everything's clear so far.
I'm sorry about that. My family came in and they just kind of, it just blinded my ears for a while. I didn't hear anything you said, but I do understand the projects is just a series of projects that, that is like just really building kind of just to show off like what I kind of learned, you know, throughout a certain amount of time. So yes.
Right, yeah. So, right, within each
But
group of classes.
right. But I was gonna ask you a question. Do you really think that, especially me being a student online, do you really think that, because I know it's supposed to be like a portfolio that I'm supposed to go out and like, go get a job with or something like that. Do you really think
Mhm.
that this would be sufficient, or do we do something else after that? Because I feel like that wouldn't be such a good portfolio to kind of show, since everything you put into that portfolio project you were brand new at. It's nothing that you got to really like master, if you know what I mean. You know?
Right. Yeah, and that's what I was saying. This is more focused on providing an academic portfolio, so it's showing your achievements in school, that you're learning the skills that we have set out for you to learn. Um, Ideally, it could also be a professional portfolio that you could show potential employers. But once you get down to project 5, you'll present what you've completed in these courses in preparation for graduation. What you add to your portfolio after that point is really up to you. So maybe feel like these aren't the greatest showpieces, or for the job search, that you would rather um, include, say, video projects that you've done in other courses or on your own, and that's okay, because we certainly want you to put your best foot forward. These are more for our purposes, as your instructors, and making sure that you're reaching the goals that we had set for you to reach at each point.
Okay. All right, no problem. That's good.
Okay. Um, and also, to your point, the idea, the way these work, and you'll see this more in Portfolio 2 and later, is that once you get to this class, say Portfolio Project 3, and your focus is on digital video and audio, you've already taken the courses that give you those skills. You have the entire month to develop this single project, and the way we handle that is in stages. So you'll create a rough draft and give it to your instructor, and we'll give feedback to you to improve it, and then you'll give it back again. So it's a cycle. You'll turn it in 3 or 4 times throughout the month, so that hopefully by the end of that month it's as refined and as good a project as it can be in that time frame. So ideally, yeah, by the time you get to the end, you have some pretty good showpieces for um, to show for yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Hmm. And just thinking if I have anything else to say about this particular slide. Um, and so starting off this first week, we're just going to get an idea of your own professional goals and make sure that you have an idea of where you're headed, um, what you want to do after graduation. What exactly is your particular area of focus in the media world?
Well, for me, my
Yeah.
particular focus is more of the like television broadcasts.
Okay.
That's really where I would like to be. Um, I don't know. Everyone always asks me this. I don't know how I'm gonna start off, but I'm just gonna do my best to get my foot in the door
Hmm.
as best as I can, and then just grow and network. But I've always, the end goal is I want to have my own television network, but I don't know what I would want to do before that, before I get there. That's
Sure.
like my plan. So that's what kind of, whenever I'm asked this question, or like whenever I'm going to, let's say, do this portfolio and I want a subject, it's very extremely difficult for me because I know where I want to be, but I don't know what to use to help me get there. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Yeah, so,
Yeah, definitely. And I would say, I mean, that's outside of where my background, but it would seem that you would want to put a lot of focus into the video side of media, and that's something that's a big part of our program. Are you looking at something more in the area of news broadcasts, or like talk shows, or something, or just TV in general?
I mean, I would say talk shows, but maybe TV in general as well. But
Hmm.
mostly, I'm geared more towards like talk shows,
Okay.
um, and things like that. I mean, that's all I can think about. And I was thinking about having, my own blog. And I was actually learning that in the new media tools, we were kind of using that submit, submit, our assignments and things like that.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and it's a really good resource is some of the social media, especially with YouTube. You have a lot of examples now of people who have started off on YouTube, um, creating their own video series, video blogs, and other types of series, and have gained a following and become pretty well known through that channel. So it's something to consider, if only as a way of practicing and getting used to being on camera and developing your on screen personality and so forth. Um, But other than that, focusing on your technical skills, video and audio editing, your writing skills are going to be essential no matter what branch of communications you go into. Um,
Okay.
and then working with our career services office once you get a little farther down the road, because they have a lot of connections with people in the industries, and including the television industries, so they can certainly give you some direction
Okay.
in that way. And I can definitely see the new media journalism and the video production courses being beneficial, not just the content, but just the instructors, because I know our new media journalism instructor had worked in TV for many years and has gotten some impressive stories to tell about that. So,
That's really cool. All right, thank you.
sure. And this is what you'll be doing in week one, is kind of defining those interests, much like you just did here with me, explaining what your dream job is down the road, and what it is that appeals to you about that job. But also, you'll be creating a personal mission statement, which I'll talk about more in just a minute. But the purpose of really setting your goals down in paper, and paper in quotation marks, is to help give you some direction in choosing a subject, because you want to pick a subject that will let you focus on that kind of work. Your subject actually could be your own YouTube channel, or your own blog could serve as your portfolio subject. So it doesn't have to be something external. It could be your own brand identity.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, and sometimes that's the easiest thing for you to work with, because you can draw from your own experience and your own goals and have complete creative freedom. Whereas if you're working with something outside a business, then there's a little more restriction as far as developing the brand identity, since some of it will already be set in stone.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other part of the assignment this week is to write your personal mission statement. And a personal mission statement is something you might have seen associated with a company. I have provided the link to Starbucks mission statement in the assignment. And what this ultimately does is it states your own um, values as a professional, and also gives a definition of your view of success. So it's when we have heard this described as how you would want to be remembered on the day of your retirement. What have you achieved? And so this is looking forward. This is a way of beginning with the end in mind, which is one of those habits of highly successful people. But if you are able to define where you want to end up and how you define success, then you can use this as sort of a compass needle to keep you on track. And it will be a good addition to your portfolio website once you get down to that point in the program. I've seen students take this in different directions. There's really not a rule since this is a highly personal thing, you can keep it focused strictly on professional goals, or you can include some personal values and goals as well. And sometimes those things are one and the same. The bullet points here are not really specific things to include, but things that you can draw from in creating your personal mission statement. And it is what you believe. This is your values, what's important to you in your personal and professional life. what makes you unique as an individual and as a professional, and where you come from, not necessarily geographically where you come from, but experientially, where do you come from, and why do you do what you do, or why do you want to do what you want to do? Ideally, this is something that you would look to and be inspired or reminded of why you are here. It should have much more meaning to you than it does to me as your instructor, since it is your own personal mission. Here are a couple of examples. And this is one that's more professionally focused, and he states, I believe that the heart behind every radio show isn't the host, but the people behind the scenes that make it possible. I strive to become the most timely and professional worker in the studio. I come from a background in entertainment and radio industry. I've worked with live broadcasts as well as recorded broadcasts for over a year now. I have no greater passion than to be the best programming director in the radio world, and I will not give up until I feel I have completed this goal. So, pretty clear statement of his measure of success and where he wants to end up. And a second example, and this is one that does incorporate a little bit more of the individual's personal life, and the reason being that she is starting her own nonprofit, and that focuses on things that she holds very dear to her. So this mission statement states that my mission is to share my spiritual journey and the joy that comes with balance of mind, body, and spirit. With the use of multimedia, I will document and distribute lessons learned through everyday social interaction and through the creation and performance of poetry and dance. By working to cultivate artistic expression and social justice among youth, I will be a catalyst for change in my community and to create a legacy that will impact future generations. So even without knowing this person personally, you can see some of her values for the arts, for social justice, for community, as well as get an idea of what her view of personal success is. This can be tough, especially if you're like me, very much an introvert, and sharing really personal stuff can be a challenge. But you can definitely focus on the professional aspects of your life, since that's ultimately what we're focused on. I just uploaded a PDF to the assignment that includes all of these examples. I'm not going to read them all out loud to you, but since that would be probably very boring for you. But just as I'm flipping through here, you'll notice that they're pretty different in terms of their length and as well as content. This is probably one of the longer ones I've seen, but it should be about a paragraph long. And incomplete sentences and no bullet points, please go ahead and write this out and make it something that sort of is your personal mission, your statement. Any questions as far as the personal mission statement is concerned? Okay, great. So this is where we're at right now, and like I said, this is all very much setting the stage for the projects that are coming up. Just backtracking through the slides really quick. once we get through these initial steps, then in week 2, you'll select your own personal portfolio subject, which is the main activity for the month. Okay, so like I told you earlier, this is going to be a fairly short meeting, and this will be true throughout the month. But if you feel like you are on track, then I'm happy to let you go for now and to get back to your day. Okay, well, I appreciate you logging in to join me today and look forward to working with you this month. All right, have a great day.